guys, so a lot of questions I get all the time is, how do I stretch right? When should I stretch? Is it right to stretch before a workout, after a workout? You get all these different questions. And the honest answer is it's better to do it both. You want to stretch before and after a workout. The difference is you never want to stretch cold muscles. So there's pre-warm-ups that you could do. A lot of times before I sweat or before I stretch, I like to get maybe a little sweat going. And for those of you who can't jump rope, that's fine. I usually start with the jump rope. Before I do anything, I just start nice and easy skipping rope. Okay, and that's great. If you can do that, you want to do it for about 2-3 minutes. You just want to start feeling your body warm because you don't ever really want to stretch cold muscles. And one of the main things I focus on before I'm stretching muscles is I'm working on my joints. So there are also joint stretches that I do. Not as much stresses as they are loosening up the joints. And we'll go through a small part of that, and then we'll go through the after workout stretches that I like to do as well, just to kind of stretch all the muscles. So first thing, like I said, if I can, I like to warm up first all the time. So I'll do jump rope. If I don't have a jump rope, I'll start by just certain things, twisting my hips. I'll start moving around a little bit, side to side, just kind of working my hands. Maybe, again, if I'm doing my boxing thing, I might start with a little bit of shadow boxing. Just all types of movement to just start kind of getting myself loosened up a little bit, to start getting my muscles activated, to start getting my blood flowing. I want that because I don't want to just come in and start stretching, stretching cold muscles right off the bat. And, things might get tight. It doesn't go as far as you might want it to stretch. So that's the perfect way to do it. Is you just start by loosening up a little bit. Like I said, you can start bouncing on your toes. If you have a jump rope, even better. You just jump rope for a little bit. You start loosening up. But let's say we don't have that stuff, and let's just say, I want to start with my joint stretches. So it's not so much stretching as it is loosening up. One of the main things, you have your shoulder joints, elbow, wrist, knees, ankles, hip joints, all that stuff. So what I'm going to start is I'm going to take you through a warm-up that I would do in the morning, like when I was going through training camps and stuff like that. Before I had, anything to eat or anything to drink, when I'd wake up, I just wanted to loosen up my joints a little bit. One of my favorite things to do. So we'll go the progression. I start with the upper body and I work my way down. Or some of the other guys that I train, they would start with their lower body, work their way up. But that's fine. This is stuff we would do in the morning before we even train. So again, trying to loosen up. I'm just kind of slightly bouncing on my toe. One of the main things that I would start as I'm bouncing around, I start by loosening up my neck a little bit. And I'm just kind of rotating it around. Slowly, I go in circles, slowly to one side. And I'd go about 10 times in one way, and then I'd start bringing it around 10 times the other. I'm not pulling on any of the muscles. I'm just kind of loosening the joint up. These are more joint stretches, or joint loosenings, as I like to call them. Then I'd start bringing it side to side a little bit, try to get my ear to my shoulder. And then I'd start shaking my head, no, side to side, to loosen up the joint. And then you start shaking your head, yes. Go back to no, and the ear to my shoulder is my favorite one. Next thing is we're going down, I'm going to start loosening up my shoulders. So it is, you can start with small circles, you just start loosening them. Small circles going forward, small circles going back. You can cross them over and under just to start loosening up a little bit. And you keep loosening them up that way. The next one we're going to go to is our elbows. Again, like I said, for the sake of time, we're doing it a little quicker. You do it on your own time. You can do 10, 20, you can do seconds if you want to just do everything for 20 seconds, however you want, however you need to feel loose. It's up to you. Next thing we go to is the elbows. So I like to rotate my elbows a little bit. Just loosen them up, side to side. I'm rotating them out, then I twist and I rotate them in. Going both ways, side to side. It's all rotation of the joints. Next thing I do, obviously, is the wrist. So I like to interlace my fingers and I roll out my hands. I go one way, loosening those wrists up, then I bring it back, the other way, side to side. And again, the whole time, if I want, I can be bouncing on my toes a little bit while I'm doing this, going back and forth. I could do one arm at a time, then the other arm. The options are up to you, but these are the basic joint stretches. Next thing I'm going to start doing is not so much a joint, but it's just loosening up under the rib cage. I try to just kind of move my rib cage side to side. Start moving that rib cage side to side, left to right. Then I'm going to bring it forward and back. Now, if you notice, only the rib cage is moving. I'm not moving my hips. My stomach might be moving a little bit, but I'm not moving my hips. And the same thing, I might start making circles with it, right at the, underneath the rib cage. Circles one way, and then circles back the other way. And then the next place I'm going to go, obviously, are my hips. You can do the same thing. I can circle the hips nice and wide, and I can circle them the other way. I go left to right, moving the hips, just loosen them up, forward and back. And at one point I plant my feet, I'll start loosening up the lower back. Now again, it's loosening up the spine, but remember there are muscles in the lower back too, so don't go too far. You just want to loosen up. Next thing I'm going to start working is the hip joint for the leg. So I'll start, let's just say I start one leg at a time with the right leg. I bring the knee up, I circle it open, knee up, circle it open, knee up, circle it open, just to start loosening it. And then I bring it back the other direction. 5, 10, 20 times, however many times it takes you to warm up. And you do the other leg, knee up, circle open, knee up, circle close. Next one I'm going to start moving to is my knees, right? Knees are a very good point. So what I like to do is I bend my knees, place both my hands on my knees, and I'm going to circle my knees out to one side, start loosening it, and I circle it back to the other side, side to side, rotate. And then last but not least, I go for the ankle. Again, if you're holding something, that's fine. I'm going to place my heel up. I'm just going to roll out the ankle. And I roll it one way, and then after a couple times, I roll it back the other way. And I'll do the same thing with my left ankle. Roll it out one way, and I roll it out the other way. And those are the joint stretches. So now your joints should start feeling pretty loose. Again, like I said, if you're only doing, 1 to 5, you might not be that loose. So you do it for a little bit. In between, you can move around, you can bounce on the toes, you start warming up. If at a point you start feeling a little bit of a sweat going on, stuff like that, that's great. Then you can start working the muscle stretches in there. And there's all different types of muscle stretches to do. I mean, depending on what really works for you. Again, I'm going to just go from working from the upper body to the lower body. But let's say muscles are warmed up now, or either post-workout or we're warmed up for pre-workout. You understand? You can do these both, but it's better. I like the muscle stretches for post-workout. So what I do, let's start with the neck. Now I'm going to kind of pull my head down to one side, feel the muscles in my neck start stretching. I want to get my ear down to the side, and then I'm going to pull it down to the other side. Again, you typically want to hold each stretch for about 10 seconds or more. I'm doing it for the sake of the video, going a little bit quicker. Then I'll bring both hands, I'll lock them behind the head, I'll bring my chin down to my chest. And I might push it up there too. Maybe like I'm praying, push it up. Next thing I start doing is the shoulders. I'm going to bring my left arm behind my head, stretch it out. I'm pulling on, I'm not putting on more pressure. I don't want to cause pain, but you want to feel the stretch. If you start feeling pain, loosen it up. And then you switch to the right. You can pull the arm across the chest. And again, you'll switch it the other way. Sometimes when I have to stretch my wrist out, I just hold it down. I keep the hand loose. I'm going to hold that, and I'm going to push down. I almost want to get my fingers to my hands. Again, not as far as you can. And I go from there, and I'll bring it back the other way, as far back as I can go, pulling on my fingers. Again, my wrists are kind of tight. Some people are more flexible than others. I've seen people pull their middle fingers to their forearms, which is great. But you go as much as you can until you feel the stretch. You don't want to feel any pain with it. Do it on both sides. You can start stretching out the elbow a little bit. I place my hand underneath my elbow and just kind of push at the joint as I pull it down. And then the same thing, sort of hamstring muscle stretches. I walk my legs down. Again, if you can't touch your toes, that's fine. Other thing that I want to start doing is I want to focus really on my breathing. You're supposed to be relaxed while you're stretching. Focus on your breathing. Every time you exhale, you want to stretch just a little bit deeper in your stretch. And you'll notice, again, the more you do it, the better you get it. Nothing too extreme. If you feel pain, stop, bring it back a little bit, but it should loosen yourself up. Those are for the hamstrings. Next one I like to do is for my quads, so I'll bring my heel to my butt. I'll pull my foot up. Right to left. And if your back gets a little tight, which mine does, my lower back in particular, a lot of times I like to sit on a couple different stretches I'll do. one where I'm sitting on my back and I'm going to keep one leg straight. I pull the other leg over. It's important. You can keep the knee bent. If you can keep it straight out, great. It's important to keep both shoulders on the mat. And you lay here again. Each time you exhale, stretch a little deeper into it. And then you switch and go to the other side. Both shoulders stay on the mat. I can do the same, similar stretch by sitting up on my butt. I step the leg over, I twist myself to the other side. And again, just focusing on your breathing. Every time you exhale, you push a little deeper into the stretch. And then when we're done with that side, I stretch to the other side. Now again, there's a lot of stretches you can do. So if there's any particular area that you want more stretches on, please feel free to comment, and we'll post some videos of more stretches for you. But for the most part, where your tenderness is, that's where you want to stretch out. You have these are basic areas that get sore after the workouts we did. That's why we stretch them out. But there's always different exercises to kind of stretch